All right, well, today I wanted to talk about why watching sports is mostly a waste of time for many reasons. I used to watch college football and NFL pretty religiously. On Saturdays, I would plop down on the couch and just watch college football endlessly for the entire day. At the time, it was a good escape from the stresses of work, and then on Sunday, I would plop down again and binge watch NFL games all day. I'd watch the 1 p.m. games, I'd watch the 4 p.m. games, and then I would watch the late night 8 p.m. games as well. I genuinely enjoyed it at the time. It was escapism at its finest. But as I got older, I just don't enjoy it anymore. I would much rather be doing other things like creating content for YouTube, working out, hiking, maybe playing poker, maybe shooting pool, or just really doing anything else that is a bit more productive, like coding. As I've gotten older, I've also enjoyed creating and building things, and it just made me realize that watching sports is just overall a giant waste of time. Like, you get the dopamine rush, and sometimes it's fun to watch a game occasionally with some good friends. But other than that, it's just pure time wasted when you could be doing something else, like learning a skill or creating content. The only exception I would say is watching UFC fight cards. I love the UFC cards. Those are definitely worth it in my opinion. I don't know if you guys have ever watched UFC fights, but they're really fun to watch. It's also well worth it in my opinion. And that would be the exception to the rule for me. All those hours watching sports could have been spent doing something more productive or just more meaningful in your life. If you think about it practically, you're watching grown men you don't know and will never meet play a game at the end of the day. You're basically watching other people make millions of dollars, and you're getting all jazzed up and excited when a touchdown happens or when a 3-point shot happens. You get all pissed off when your favorite team doesn't win. I felt all these emotions, but now I just can't get excited even for a second for most sports outside of the UFC. When people at work bring up sports, I just kind of give one-word answers and don't really say much back anymore, whereas years ago, I would be checking college football, NFL football, and basketball stats constantly, and honestly, looking back, it was just a huge waste of time. Years ago as well, I would be sports betting, and I would be looking at all these college football matchups, NFL matchups, and I'd be watching all of these like random sports betting YouTube channels. And yeah, it was just a huge waste of time looking back. I remember there was this kid that I used to work with that lived and died by the Falcons. He was one of those guys that didn't grow up in Atlanta or Georgia, but would cheer on that team religiously. I've never understood people like that. If you're born in a certain place or city and you cheer on a team randomly that's across the United States, I'll just never understand it. Whenever the Falcons would lose, he would be like super pissed off in his cubicle. And if someone were to try and talk to him, he would be like, "Not in the mood, man. The Falcons lost. I'll talk to you next week if they win." So if they lost on a Sunday, he would legitimately do this, and he would not talk to anyone for the next week. It was just crazy. You would go and like walk by his cubicle, and he would just turn his head and not talk. But when they won, he would be the happiest guy in the world. Like, he was like a kid in the candy store, and he would just go around to everyone's cube and just talk about the most random stuff, talk about the game. It was just hilarious. This guy literally let a team of grown men who he would never meet dictate how his day and week went. He also went to a couple like away Atlanta Falcons games, and he would like get on a plane with his friends and go, fly across the country. He would like paint his body and his face as well, which was awesome but hilarious at the same time. And I think corporations and the government like when the masses watch sports. It keeps them occupied and hit with dopamine, especially on Sunday night, so they can get back to work on Monday. You know, when someone's team wins, it does make it a little bit easier for them to get up in the morning and drive into work that next day. When the masses are watching sports, the government also keeps their minds away from what really could be going on in the world. In regards to like major sporting events like the Olympics or the Super Bowl, a lot of the time the government will pass certain laws that may not have gotten through public scrutiny, but because the masses were fixated on the big event, they were able to get less backlash. And with that being said, I do enjoy every once in a while watching a football game with some good buddies, and every once in a while going to the stadium to watch a baseball or a football game. It does give you a sense of escapism, and it's fun to watch a game in a stadium every once in a while. Something can be said about the environment of the stadiums where everyone is just in a good mood, especially in the summertime, and you can grab a beer with your good friends. If you generally do like watching sports, more power to you, but that's just my take. I'm not someone who can sit in front of the TV anymore and just watch sports mindlessly. you genuinely do like watching sports, more power to you, but that's just my take. If it's not a UFC fight, I'm just not interested. I'll also watch my favorite football team every once in a while with some good buddies. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to comment down below your opinions on watching sports, and feel free to subscribe. Until next time, take care.